Hello everyone, it is here, the day is finally here, the Lindell 50 channel, the API console is finally out. This genuinely has been the hardest shootout and the longest shootout that I've ever done. I am tired, I was up until 3 o'clock last night. I've taken probably in the region of about 18 to 20 hours on this. There's many reasons why, and we'll get into it, okay? So, for all you guys that are new, my name's Paul Third. I do plug-in shootouts mainly, and there's an entire Mixing Wednesday playlist. So if you like this video and subscribe, most importantly subscribe, you'll get to see the Mixing Wednesday playlist. And honestly, I have got tons of shootouts, plug-in shootouts, analog versus digital, lots and lots of great stuff. Okay, so today is the big one. Okay, I've been waiting for the Lindell 50 channel for a long time. Now, the reason that I've decided to shoot out the Lindell 50 channel versus the ACUSTICA Audio Pink is because they're both really the only channel strips on the market where you can get a 500A, a 500B and a 560 EQ, as well as a 2500 compressor. In the Lindell you also get a FET compressor as well, but I'm not going to use it in the shootout. I'm just going to tell you, I think it sounds terrible. To me, it's just that the compressor action is just all over the shop. It sucks. It's a really sucky compressor. It's just too much. Even at low levels, it just sucks everything out, and you don't get any transients out of it. I don't know. I don't know. You'd need to sit and play about with it for a long time, but I just couldn't get any good sound of it for the shootout. So it's going to be a big one today. Okay, so the king of ACUSTICA audio. Genuinely, I got voted the best ACUSTICA audio plugin in a poll. I think it's like the third time it's won. So the king of ACUSTICA audio versus the new Lindell 50 channel. Let's do it. Okay, so first, right, let's just get straight into it, okay? Because I'm not really going to go into all the features and stuff, because the other video was on that. Like, this is about the sound and what's going on underneath the hood. So in terms of what's going on underneath the hood, you have a high pass filter that I suggest that you do use. It's in like the bus channel. So you have a bus channel and you have a channel strip as well. And the bus channel is basically just the pre, like the high pass filter, okay, and the THD, which is the harmonics, okay. So what I do suggest that you do is you do use the high pass. I just like the high pass a lot of stuff, but what you'll see is that without the high pass, you get like this kind of bump at 20. It must just be like the unit that they sample. I think that's the 500B, and I think the 500B is sort of like this 20 Hz bump. So normally take that out, okay? Now, first off, let's have a look at some of the linear frequency responses, okay? So let's kind of look at kick. So let's do 100 Hz, 1.5K and 7K, and the 50B, okay? So this is ACUSTICA and Lindell, okay? So what you're going to find is that when they're kind of roughly at the same settings, which is quite low, so kind of maybe say between like 4 to 6 dB, what you can see is that the Lindell channel is very wide in its Q, its notch filter, very wide, and the ACUSTICA is quite narrow. Now, what if I was to tell you that I actually can get the frequency curves of the Lindell to match a lot closer to the ACUSTICA, as you'll see here. Now, this comes to the important part. This is the kind of thing that this is going to be the hardest thing. If you're an ACUSTICA Pink owner and you're a Lindell owner and you're trying to compare the two, this is the reason why you're going to struggle so much, and you'll find that one sounds very different to the other, and really the reasons why ACUSTICA is going to sound better. Okay, so what I've done is I've kind of got three kind of different examples here to kind of show you the difference in the notch of the Lindell as you increase the level of the EQ. So the first example you can see is at 4 dB, okay? So the ACUSTICA is at 4 dB, and what you're actually finding is that in the Lindell you're having to kind of hit roughly around, it was like 6.5 dB. Now look at the difference in the frequency response, right? Look how wide the notch is, okay? Look how narrow the ACUSTICA is compared to the Lindell, okay? So it's very wide. So if you're kind of, even if you think about it, right, if you're EQing, right, as much as like 6.5 dB, which you'll probably see is quite moderate, like that's half of your limit, which is 12 dB in the EQs, it's quite wide. It is quite wide in comparison. So how about we change the ACUSTICA and we change that to 6 dB, and then we start to raise more the level of the Lindell to see if the frequency response in the curves narrow slightly. So as you can see, it's way closer, but still not right. It's still not right. Okay, you're boosting 6 dB in the Acustica and you're boosting around, say, 9 dB in the Lindell. Okay, an extra 3 dB. And again, it's because the Q just isn't right. It's still too wide. It's you can see it's getting narrower as you're increasing the gain, but again, it's still not narrow enough. So how about, right, what does it take till you can actually get to a point where the curves, like what I showed you in that example earlier on, actually get to a point where you can actually get the curves to react the same way? So I've taken down the output just so you can still see it in Plugin Doctor, okay? So what I've done is I've matched the outputs the same, okay? And then what I've done is I've done 9 dB, right? 9 dB, which is quite a lot in Acustica, right? 9 dB, and then I've nearly maxed out, right? I'm nearly maxing out the Lindell. That's about 11.2 dB, okay? So again, it's still quite a lot. And now you can see that they're nearly practically identical, right? So as you can see, right, to get this plugin to work like Acustica and sound like Acustica, right, which is the king, right, they call it the king of Acustica plugins, the best API emulation that there is. I've heard from many different people. To get the Lindell to act like that, you're constantly having to dial it. You would be roughly between 10 to 12 dB. Honestly, you'd be adding as much as 10 to 12 dB, and I'm going to bring down to your input just to get that level of that narrow Q. Now, the reason this is very important, okay, is because I've done 2 different mixes, okay? So I've done one mix that was with Acustica, right? I started off with Pink because the Lindell wasn't out yet, and it took us 20 minutes. 20 minutes. So I'm happy with that. Good, right, okay, we'll leave it at that. I'm happy with that. Then the Lindell came out. So I did the exact same, and I went, no, but I'll do it. I'll just mix it like I did with the Acustica, right? I'll sit there, I'll take 20 minutes, and I'll just be like, right, okay, right. 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, sounded okay to me. I was like, okay, that's fine. Issue was when I played them side by side, it sounded rubbish. The Lindell sounded like dull and just muddy and just didn't have enough transients, and it just didn't sound anywhere near the quality of the Acustica. And so obviously I was like, right, okay. That's because obviously, and that's why I actually found that out later, what I just showed you there. It's the Qs. It sounds better with a narrower Q. And by the way, as well, yes, times 16 oversampling, I've got these on as well, right? This is times 16 oversampling. Be very aware that the quality of even times 2 and times 4 and times 8 is very different to times 16. Times 16 is what's going to get you to the sound of Acustica. It doesn't sound very good. It also actually changes the linear frequency response as well. It's not just like for the compressor, making things a little bit clearer. It actually changes the frequency response as well. So you should be using times 16 oversampling. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is worse CPU than Acustica. And this is where everybody's shocked. So when everybody kind of goes, oh, I can't be bothered with acoustic audio. I know it's great, but the CPU is a nightmare. Well, there you go. There's Plugin Alliance at times 16 oversampling, and it taxes your CPU a lot more, and you need it to, honestly, you genuinely do. And I've seen loads of comments already from Plugin Alliance users stating that times 16 is a game changer, but it also ruins your CPU. Right, okay, so that took way too long, but it's very important I speak about this stuff, okay, because I want this to be really in depth. So let's go straight to the shootout, okay? So this is an entire mix, right? An entire mix. I'm very sorry that I couldn't find another multi-track. This is, what's the song? Waiting. It's the one that goes, everybody's like, always leaves comments every time you hear drums on it, and they're like, I've been waiting patiently a long time. But actually I find the song rather fitting, because I have been waiting patiently a long time for this plugin, okay? So that's the multi-track. Apologies for the singing. It's not me that's singing, right? It was a free multi-track from Produce Like a Pro, right? Warren Hewitt, right? Released it, right? Whatever. It's not me. It's not me that's singing, right? So I've got everything. I've got the entire drums, right? So I've got kick, snare, overheads, drum room, and we've got the 2500 on the drum bus as well. I've got bass, I've got stereo guitars, and I've got the vocals as well. So there'll be individual shootouts. So you know, I got a little bit confused on the Lindell because the buttons kind of confused us a little bit. So when it's dark, and the EQ at the bottom, but it's got the 2 filters because you've got the shelves. So you've got a shelf option, a peak option. Now when it goes dark, that's meant to look like you've pushed it in. I got dead confused because I thought it was like meant to lighten up. So just to let you know, right, when it's darker, that's the shelves in. When it's lighter, that's meant to look like it's popped out or whatever, and that's the peak. So you'll kind of see when I'm using shelves and peaks, but I'm normally doing peaks. Okay, let's get straight into it. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so let's get straight into the kick. Okay, settings there. I'll come back very soon. Very, very, very brief about each, and then we'll get this wrapped up. Okay. Okay, so there you go, right? I preferred the pink. Okay, very, very close, so very close. I just feel that there's slight more punch. You can get more low end punch out of the pink, and again, it sounds a little bit clearer. And I think the Lindell's is maybe a little slightly bit, a little muddier, just a little bit, but very, 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 very close. Just to make you aware, right? I spent about 4 to 6 hours, right, with the Lindell, trying to get the Lindell to sound like the pink, right? It was a nightmare. You might go 4 to 6 hours. I'm telling you, 4 to 6 hours, right? Try mixing something, right, that you really should be wanting to crank it. It's not in your nature to kind of be giving it like 10 to 12 dB every time. It's not in your nature, right? So it took me time, okay? That was the closest I could get it. I preferred the pink. I think it's got a little bit more low end and it's a little bit clearer as well. So let's go with the snare. So on this one, I preferred the Lindell, but they're almost identical. Like I managed to get them like nearly bang on. But the THD is one of the most important factors. So what you'll find is that the compressors are not anywhere near as punchy as the 2500 in the Acoustica Pink. It's nowhere near it. So to get those transients back in, I was finding I was having to use that THD quite a lot, and sometimes I was having to use the pre as well, just to give it a little bit more colour. Almost kind of try to use it more like a kind of a clipper and just kind of hitting it a little bit harder. So for here, I actually think the kind of THD and kind of using the bus channel to hit it a little bit harder works. Again, very almost identical, but I kind of just feel like you're getting a little bit more of the room out. The pink, again, is clearer. You're going to find this even at times 16 oversampling in the Lindell. The pink's always going to be a little bit cleaner, but again, kind of very, very, very close. So I prefer the Lindell here, but again, I don't think an average listener would tell a difference. So let's go to the drum rooms. Now let's go back to what I said just a few moments ago about the compressors not having enough punch, okay? As you can hear there, you cannot get the transient, right? You can hear there's the toms, right? And there's much more width out the pink compressor. See the 2500 in the pink, there's much more width in it. And again, see the schmod, right? Originally, I had the schmod almost kind of maxed out. And it was just like bang, 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 all that toms, and the toms were coming out a lot. But what I found was that the Lindell channel brings out the room a little bit more, and it's a little bit kind of more saturated, and it's kind of a little bit more warmer, which I quite like. But however, the transients just isn't there. And even with the schmod at the original setting, so 2 in the schmod, I think your schmod is basically your attack envelope, and how it changes the attack envelope. If you go to kind of 1 and 0 or whatever it is, then that's more look ahead. If you kind of max it out, then it's focusing more on the transient. So again, if you had it on a drum bus, again the snare would come out more, and it's bringing out the transient. So again, on this, even at 2, it's still managing and 2 is the original kind of attack envelope of the hardware, the sampled hardware. So even no matter what you can do to the Lindell comp, you just can't get the transients out. It's just not there, and you can hear that. However, it does imprint a really nice room saturation, and it kind of, honestly, if you hit the bus channel quite hard and kind of bring the pre in, you can really add a lot of saturation and really add a lot of like warmth and rumble and really bring out the room more. But you can hear it here. It's got a cool effect, but again, missing the transients, missing the detail. It's just, again, it's lacking that clarity of the Acustica. So we've done the drum room, okay? So the overheads, as I mentioned earlier, right? I'm sorry, right? I lost it, right? I don't even know if I recorded it, right? I've been at it, right? So you're talking 18 to 20 hours trying to do this, okay? I'm tired, 3:30 in the morning, right? Give us a break. So to kind of still let you hear what the overheads are doing, right? I've got the drum room, so I've taken everything, put it to a drum bus, and then put the 2500 on. And on the 2500, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I do. I've just got a fast attack. I've got like, I think it was like a 75-second release. It's kind of like a kind of mid-ish release. I've got the, what have I got again? I think I've got the feed forward in this one. And I've also got 1 dB of compression, and I think in the Acustica, I think I've got the schmod picking up a little bit more of the transient a little bit. I think I've kind of maybe got it in setting 3, maybe just kind of getting a little bit more of the transients. So this is all the drums, right, all together. Let's see which one I prefer here. So once again, the pink wins out. So on the overall drums, I just feel that the one thing is definitely the kick in the low end is tighter in the pink, and that clarity to me is better, right? I think the overall kit is a little bit more clearer, where again, to kind of bring out the transients more, and you're kind of using the THD and stuff, and you're maybe adding a little bit more mud. But honestly, with kind of trying to hit the THD a little bit harder and driving it a little bit harder, you really do miss out on the transients. So the drum rooms, you can hear that warmth, and again, you can bring out the room a little bit more. It's a little bit more vibrant, and it's got a little bit more of a vibe to it. But it's lacking the transients, and it's lacking the clarity for me. The Lindell sounds good. It sounds really, really good, but the Acustica is just clearer, and it's just a little bit more punchier and just coming out at you a little bit more. Just a little bit too much of the room. And there's nothing, again, it's do it like the drum bus comp was only the 2500 in the Lindell was only the 1 dB compression. That's it. So it does have a sound, but it brings out more of the room for me. like what it did in the rooms as well. It's a different sounding compressor. That's all I can say. The two of them are both modelling the same. The Acustica sampled the compressor. Obviously this is an algorithm in the Lindell, and the two of them do sound different. So to me, the clarity of the Acustica and the overall punch results in more depth and a better mix. Okay, so that's drums. Let's look into bass. So bass, very, very close. I managed to get the Lindell quite close. But one thing that, here's the thing with these, in this scenario, right, is that, like, it reminds me of the 80 channel, right, the Neve that Lindell do. It's got this pokiness to it, and it's kind of mid, kind of pokey grit, that you can't get that out of the Acustica. But the Acustica is way, way more smoother, and you can get a much more refined and smoother bottom end. And it kind of fills out a little bit more, where it's just like you hit the Lindell too hard in the API, it kind of just gets a little bit much, it's a little bit woofy, and it's a little bit boomy. So I managed to get it close, but the smoothness of the Acustica, the overall low end, works for me. I found that, like, I had to actually dial a lot of the 1.5k back in the Lindell because it was just a little bit too pokey. It's just its natural characteristic, it's too pokey, and you start kind of bringing in the THD a little bit more, it starts having a little bit more of a growl and bark to it, and it's very, very pokey, which in some instances that could work, but for me it's just, you'll hear it in the mix for me, I just think it's a little bit too pokey, where this bass is a little bit more rounded, a little bit more smooth. So for me there, I do prefer the bass here. Okay, so bass done. Let's now go to guitars. Okay, so for guitars I had to use the 560. Okay, by the way, I feel really terrible that I haven't even told you in which instances I'm using the 50B and the 50A. But again, it's in the settings, right? So you can go back, right? I'm sorry. Honestly, I'm so tired. I'm so tired, not enough sleep. So on this one, on guitars, 560 has been something that, this was actually Ramesh Dodden Goda. I'm in control room, and it was something that he done, like Bring Me to the Horizon, Motorhead and stuff like that. And I remember he left a comment on sort of post to say 560 on guitars. I love it, I love it, I love it. So I was like, I have to try that out, It's a graphic EQ, okay? Now, in terms of, again, I'll show you a plugin doctor. This was the only one I was able to get basically bang on. The high end's different. That's the one thing. You can't kind of get that kind of roll off, as you can see what the Acustica's got, where the plugin Alliance kind of does that. You can see that you cannot get the high end of each to do the same thing. They just react differently. I don't know why that is. So the high end's slightly a little bit different. So the settings that you see here, the settings that I've used here, because I know that the linear frequency response is practically bang on. So this should be really like for like. Maybe a slight difference in the high end. There's not much I can do about that. So let's go into the guitars and let's hear which one I prefer. So again, the pink again. Now the pink was the one that when I was doing the original shootout before the Lindell came out, I fell in love with this 560 on guitars. I couldn't believe just like a quick, and I honestly can't believe how good those guitars sound in comparison to the originals. Now the reason I picked the pink is because I kind of feel like the Lindell has this kind of low muddiness in it. It's like a low mid muddiness, and I don't know why, because the two of them have got the exact same linear frequency response. So they sound a little bit different. In terms of the high end, I actually feel like the Lindell is a little bit harsher in the top end, where and that's probably because you can't really get it completely rimmed, where the Acustica is very, very rimmed, and the way it works, it's kind of like that. So it's rimmed, so it's very smooth in the top end, and I feel like the Acustica actually is wider. I actually feel like you get a little bit more width out it. You've not kind of got that kind of low mid muddiness of the guitars, and it's kind of lacking that, but it's giving you more width. So in the mix, I actually think that's going to wrap around the mix quite well, and it is definitely smoother on the top end. It's close, very, very close, but the Acustica wins out kind of all day long for me. Now, I'm not going to show you the vocals because there's a bit at the end of the song. So basically what I've done is I've got the song with the guitar only in the choruses, so you can hear the drums and you can hear the vocals on top. There's a bit at the end of the song where it's just like vocals, and I go backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. So you could hear, but they are very, very, very close. I managed to get the vocals nearly identical, okay? So they are very, 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 very close. So it's now came to the most important bit in the context of a mix, where everybody's been shouting at me like, Paul, I need to hear it. I'm tired of solo. I want to hear it in the context of a mix. So everything, every element of this, okay? So for fairness, everything is at exact integral LUFS. The kick, the snare, the rooms, everything is at integral LUFS. I've then played the entire track to make sure that the integral LUFS of the entire track is bang on. Levels are bang on. It's the fairest way I could do it. So all of them combined, I'm going to play the entire track, okay, from start to finish. Right, remember the guitar's coming into the chorus, okay? So first half will be a blind test, because I always like to do a blind test first, and then halfway through it, I'll pick the one that I prefer, and then that will be us finally done. So let's see it in a context of a mix. Memories of a red light, sleepless nightmares, shapeless figures on my bedside, robot heartbeats, tubes and wires, a breathing mouthpiece, a breathing. I gave all I had to give, ain't gonna make it. Don't tell me I'm a slave. I've been waiting patiently, a painfully long time. I need you to set me free softly. Shall I die? No need to cry, already lifeless. It's not a crime, it's only kindness. No need to cry, already lifeless. It's not a crime, it's only kindness. Right, okay, so to wrap up, right, how do I wrap this up? I would have to say that overall the Pink is the superior unit in my opinion, because there's this thing that people have said to me about Acustica plugins, and they say that it's very, 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 very close to hardware because it's sampled. And normally when you have lots of, a lot of people call it, I don't know if you call it analog summon, but the difference between having loads of analog gear or like a console is that they kind of everything melts together and it kind of gives you the sound like it's like a record, which to me the Pink does. I don't know how else to describe this. It's almost like it's got like a film on top of it. It's like a record, but everything fits in. It's like it's all in the one little bundle, right? It's kind of glued all together. Where the Lindell, it has a little bit of muddiness in there. I don't think it's as clear as the Acustica, and the Acustica's definitely got that punch. See, in the rooms, you're lacking the transients because you're really getting those toms out. I think the low end's a little bit better, and even the bass just kind of, it's there, but it kind of melts in. Where in the Lindell, it's a little bit more narrower. There's more width to me in the Acustica. It's a little bit wider, it wraps around a little bit more. It kind of feels like more like a record, where I kind of feel like in the Lindell, I don't know if I need to maybe add a compressor on top of that to maybe glue that more in place. It just kind of sounds like certain bits are a little bit pokey. Maybe that's the harmonics, maybe that's the THD, where in the Acustica it just sounds more like a record. That's all I could do. Did I manage to get the Lindell super, super, super close? You're damn right it sounds close, right? But at times 16 oversampling, it is not good for your workflow, right? If you think Acustica audio, right, I'm not buying Acustica audio because of the CPU, right? I freeze everything. Now, freezing normally, again, I've got videos on it, right? Freezing can normally take, I don't know, maybe between like 30 seconds. See this thing, times 16. I'm talking like a minute to 2 minutes. It's so slow. It takes up so much CPU, and you do need to use it. Honestly, see without it. Now see when you load the plugin, it comes in without any oversampling on. So you have to remember the top right hand corner to click those 3 lines and go to oversampling. That's the sound of the plugin. If you use it conservatively, the way you would use it, and you don't have the oversampling on, it's not only the curve's really wide, it's just going to sound really muddy. Yeah, I won't have like crashing your CPU, but it's just not going to sound very good, in my opinion, right? Remember, my opinion. To me, the only way to kind of get a really good sound, and I did tell you, I mixed it first, quite conservatively, 4 to 6 dB, just kind of like touching the dials and stuff, and it sounds terrible because of the Q. So you do have to, I would say, like, probably best to like crank it at 12 and work back the way. Instead of working from 0 to 12, work from 12 to 0, and then kind of dial it back that way, and I think you'll get a better result out of the Lindell unit. Yes, you can. Is it a great sounding console? Of course it's a great sounding console, but the only reason I can get that sound is because I had the Acustica to reference. The Acustica took us 20 minutes. I was at this for hours, back, forth, because it's not intuitively set up like the Acustica, right? It's not like that, right? And you're not used to like 10 to 12 dB. Who mixes like that? You don't. We're not used to that. We mix with our eyes. We can't help it. We're in the digital realm, right? You're not going to be doing 10 to 12, right? In terms of the compressors, I wasn't impressed by the... I'd probably actually go as far as say probably the Waves. I'd actually say the Waves 2500 is better than the Lindell. The Acustica 2500, way better. You get those transients in. Overall, it creates a better mix. I'm interested to hear what everybody thinks about this analog summon thing, because I could hear something and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's phase. And also, lastly, before like anybody goes like kind of running a duck or whatever, I use the TMT on everything, and I'm not going to give my opinion on TMT because I just don't want to, because I can't be bothered getting in an argument. But I had the TMT on, okay, and even still, did it create like a depth to the mix? Did it make it feel like it was all together, came from the same console? Not in my opinion, no. So no, I'm just not going to go into the whole TMT thing. Right? I can't be bothered. I'll be another rant, okay? So to end up, is it a great sounding plugin? Yeah, it is, if you use it, in my opinion, a certain way. Which one is better? The Acustica Pink, right? Definitely the Acustica Pink. I just feel that it's a better sounding console. It's probably, right, if I trust Acustica in terms of the sampling, in terms of using it to get more of an API sound, what I'd imagine to be an API sound, it's more intuitive that way because of the curves. So yeah, I don't know. It's up to you. I've given you as much information and as much shootouts as you can. So please like and subscribe, right? I'm so tired, right? Honestly, I was like 3:30 in the morning and I still couldn't get it finished. I've been at it all day since it came out, okay? So Please like and consider subscribing. There's an entire Mixing Wednesday playlist, right? There's loads more. Let me know your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. And yes, I'm away to go down. I don't nap, so I'll probably just go to bed early tonight. But this has been Mixing Wednesday. I've been Paul Third. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next Wednesday, okay?